The Intercept founding editor, Glenn Greenwald, in his column published yesterday, really went after, quote, resistance journalism that has taken over many in the media in the Trump era. And we welcome him now. Great to have you on, Glenn. Can you explain what you mean?
Actually comes from a newly published column by the New York Times media reporter Ben Smith, who was long the editor-in-chief of BuzzFeed, where he raised questions about some of the reporting done by Ronan Farrow concerning sexual assault cases and the Me Too movement. And he said that it's part of a broader problem of resistance journalism, in which as long as you're a member of the media, you can say whatever you want, you can attack whomever you want, no matter how shabby your methods are, no matter how discredited your stories end up being, as long as what the narrative that you're promoting is popular among liberal elites on social media, and also is targeted at people who are sufficiently hated. So it's a completely fact-free activity that journalism has become, resistance journalism in the Trump era, where you can gain all kinds of career benefits, exploding social media followings, ratings, book sales, as long as you're attacking the people who are hated by media elites without regard to whether or not there's a touchstone in factual reporting, which obviously is something that can destroy journalism more quickly than pretty much anything else.
No, Glenn, you called out CNN and MSNBC for spending 3 years at the peddling all sorts of ultimately discredited Russiagate conspiracy theories. And you've talked about journalists following the loudest voices out there. Do these sound like some of the loudest voices? And are people getting the facts if they only listen to the loudest voices?
Well, the clips you played are about the greatest act of projection I've ever heard in my entire life. You know, I'm somebody who actually has a lot of profound disagreements with the Trump administration on the area of policy, about how the war on terror is being conducted, rollbacks of regulations, corporate tax cuts, and tax cuts for the rich. But none of that got any attention because our politics have been drowned for 3 years by a lot of the people you just featured in their networks and the newspapers that support them by two particular conspiracy theories, unhinged conspiracy theories. Number one, that Vladimir Putin and the Kremlin had effectively infiltrated the American government and taken control of the United States through the use of blackmail leverage, financial and sexual blackmail leverage over the president of the United States, a conspiracy theory that not only didn't the Mueller report, after 18 months of searching, corroborate, it didn't even mention. There was just no evidence to support that wild, deranged, unhinged claim that those networks relentlessly promoted. And the other one was that the Trump campaign conspired with the Kremlin and with the Russian government to interfere in the 2016 election. And yet Robert Mueller, despite a huge team of highly aggressive prosecutors wanting to put people in prison, closed his investigation without indicting even a single American, let alone a high-level Trump official, for criminally conspiring with Russia. So those networks and the New York Times and the Washington Post, which gave themselves Pulitzers for doing it, drowned our political discourse for 3 years in completely unproven and ultimately discredited and disproven conspiracy theories, and now are claiming that other people are responsible for conspiracy theories, and there's zero accountability and zero recognition or reckoning with what it is that they did.
So, you know, the Mueller probe didn't, I don't think the Mueller report didn't even mention the Steele dossier. Do you think they should give their Pulitzers back, as the president has said?
If I got Pulitzers for reporting things that ended up completely discredited, I would go on in front of a camera and burn it. You know, I won a Pulitzer in 2013 for the Snowden reporting we did. If it turned out that after an 18-month investigation, everything we reported was not supported by any evidence and the available evidence negated it, as was true for these Russiagate conspiracies, I would hang my head in shame. But there's zero. That's what gets back to your first question about what resistance journalism is. As long as you're promoting a narrative popular among that precinct of CNN, MSNBC, Washington Post, New York Times, establishment liberalism, there's no accountability needed, because even your lies and discredited reports are forgiven on the ground that you were doing it in service of the right cause, which was undermining the Trump administration, which, as I said, I'm no fan of, but that doesn't excuse fact-free and discredited journalism.
Glenn Greenwald, you're terrific. Can you come back on the show? We love having you on. We appreciate your insights. Come back soon, okay, Glenn?
Great to be with you. Sure.